You're watching 12 WKRC TV, a new generation of news. 12 Newsmakers starts now.
Good morning and welcome to Newsmakers. As greater Cincinnatians, we tend to think of ourselves as living in a city-state. We get better news coverage of the British parliamentary politics than what's happening in the State House and legislature in the distant Ohio capital of either Columbus or the Kentucky capital of Frankfort. With a governor, state treasurer, and secretary of state of Ohio all coming from Cincinnati, the distance between Fifth and Vine and Broad and High has lessened a little bit, but I doubt it will last. One of my goals for Newsmakers is to try to bridge that gap whenever possible. This morning, I am joined by Ohio Attorney General Betty Montgomery. Ohio's 45th Attorney General is a former criminal prosecutor and state senator from Wood County, the Bowling Green area of Ohio. Betty, welcome to Newsmakers. Now, interestingly enough, you are chair of an educational advisory committee to the governor, which is one of the reasons that you're really down here right now and this is on your mind. Why is the Attorney General leading an effort in the education area? Well,
as you know, I've spent a great deal of my public life involved in crime and law enforcement. And at the same time, I've done an awful lot in terms of the intervention and prevention side professionally. I believe that we have to be very tough on crime, but at the same time, we have to be smart about it. And one of the ways we get smart about it is when you look at the statistics, particularly in large urban areas, we are not even close to graduating 50% of our students in our urban schools. And that's a sad commentary. So several years ago, I was able to secure federal funding for some pilot programming for intervention programs, alternative school kind of programs, which we set up.
Describe those. What kind of intervention?
It's you know, Dan, it's not rocket science. All it is saying, look, our children can benefit from a lot of institutions working together. When we identify a child who is disruptive in the classroom, close to being expelled or being suspended, what we do is we identify by taking them out of the classroom, so education can happen in the classroom, take them out of the classroom, put them in a special class in which they are given their tutoring, they're given counseling, they're given social services where they can't, where those
special class in that same school?
In that same school, sometimes in separate buildings.
Okay. And
then you also add this major piece of mentoring where our programs were all linked with the Ys. And the Ys did a wonderful job, as they have for years, in making a difference in children's lives. And what we found in the 3 years that we were doing the pilot project, and my whole goal was to give statistics which we then could give to the General Assembly and say, let's invest at the preventative end. What I have to say to you is that Bob Taft, Governor Taft, this is one of those least known programs that he's done. It's very innovative to step in, to put $40 million into alternative school programs where schools around the state put together collaborations between law enforcement and the court systems and the welfare social service systems, and oftentimes the YMCAs, YWCAs, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, put together a group that work on this child's needs to try to put them back into school.
Now you've been through this sort of pilot period, and you've been piloting these projects around the state in an urban system, in a suburban system, and in a rural system. Now it's at a new stage, as I understand, right? And what's going to happen, and will people in Southwest Ohio see some impact from this?
Well, what you've seen is that Governor Taft put $40 million, a large investment, $20 million into the urban schools, $20 million into the non-urban schools, and the Cincinnati area is going to enjoy about $2 million of that. And what's happened is the school districts have gotten grant money to put in alternative schools. We have, as the council, which I chair, has put together goals that they need to meet so we can measure, so we can go back to the General Assembly and say, look what we've done in terms of recidivism, in terms of keeping the children in school and absenteeism and the like.
Is this in a direct outgrowth of the shootings around the country, or is this just parallel to that? You say this is 3 years ago. What's happening here?
Well, it's really it's parallel, because what was happening I started out as a juvenile prosecutor. My heart is, I've prosecuted murderers and child abusers and litterers. And what you learn is that it's not rocket science. Most of our school systems and our law enforcement agencies can identify our problem kids by the time they enter school. And we're just trying to be smart about this. And so this timing is, while it's coincidental, it's great planning, quite frankly.
Final question on this area is the money. I mean, when will it be this school year?
This school year
that we'll begin to see this?
Right, and what's happening is we're putting on a summit to take all of the folks who have gotten this money, put them together, talk to them about our accountability standards, talk about the programs, show them some programs that have worked, and we'll continue to stay in contact. We're trying to keep some accountability in the program so we can go back to the General Assembly and say, look at the difference we've made in crime and absenteeism and the ability to graduate these kids to be successful citizens.
As long as I've got you here, I wanted to also talk about a couple of other topics and a couple things that actually have come up on our news in the past week. This past week, Hamilton County Prosecutor Mike Allen implemented an experimental new program titled Secret Safe Place for Newborns. Here's a bit of a background from 12 News reporter Paul Adler.
Right in there, down there.
A Middletown mother abandoned her infant in this trash can a few years ago. Another mother from the West End left her baby with a stranger at this building and then disappeared. And yet another left her baby in the trash at a factory in Franklin. Now there's a better place for mothers to leave unwanted, unharmed newborns, a hospital emergency room. The mothers have to do it within 72 hours of birth.
My office will continue to vigorously prosecute abusive parents. However, new mothers who relinquish their unharmed newborns to the care of any of the participating hospitals in Hamilton County within 72 hours of birth can do so without fear of prosecution for abandonment and neglect.
That's what's happening in Hamilton County. This has been a problem all over the country. What do you think about this sort of experiment in terms of a statewide initiative?
Well, I think, first of all, I applaud Mike Allen. I've worked with him both as the Attorney General, as a state senator, and I think this is a very highly innovative program. Cheryl Winkler, state representative, has introduced legislation to this months ago, and I think working hand in glove, what you have is the prosecutor and your state representative acknowledging what is a reality here, that we have abandoned children who die as a result of being unwanted, and this sort of safe place, this safe haven, will save kids' lives, and that's what this is all about.
Would your office support Cheryl Winkler's bill on a statewide level?
In fact, we've told them we will. We'll testify for it. It's the right thing to do, and I did not know Mike had done this, and until we were talking. I think it's a really innovative program, and I think will save lives.
Okay. Let me raise one other issue, and again, this is something that came up recently on our news. This past week, 12 News reporter Deborah Dixon reviewed the case of John Byrd, which may soon become the case that reframes the capital punishment issue in Ohio.
John Byrd was scheduled to die in 1994. He got his head shaved, his last meal, and a last-minute stay that spared his life. But now his time may be up.
My children and I finally have the hope that the sentence will be carried out.
John Byrd was convicted of stabbing Monty Tewksbury to death during a robbery of the King Quick store where Monty worked. When Byrd and two other men were arrested that night in 1983, Monty's blood was in the van. Byrd was wearing Monty's watch. A Hamilton County jury said Byrd should die for what he did. Now, nearly 18 years later, the sentence may be carried out. A federal 3-judge panel upheld Byrd's conviction in April. His attorneys asked the whole Sixth Circuit Court to review that decision, but the court has now refused. Byrd's attorneys can ask the U.S. Supreme Court to do the same thing, but death penalty observers say that is very unlikely. There have been 12 judicial reviews of the case already. Byrd's attorneys are expected to now claim All these years on death row have made Byrd insane, and the state can't execute a crazy man.
Okay, 18 years, long process. Both as Attorney General, but also as a state senator, from reading your record, you've been involved with this issue for a long time.
Yes.
Where does Ohio stand, and what is your office doing?
Well, as a state legislator, I carried several pieces of the legislation that it sped up, quote unquote, the death penalty process while ensuring due process. And as Attorney General, we have done the first ever study, which we do every year, of the death penalty cases, filed motions to move cases that have been sitting for 6 or 7 years in courtrooms without any decisions. It's amazing what kind of delay was built into this system, except for, I will say to you, Hamilton County. Hamilton County, when you look at particularly the large urban areas where you're getting more of these cases, is by far the shining star in terms of using, having their system accountable. But no matter what way you look at it, this 18 years unconscionable, and it cannot be viewed as due process any way you look at it. I don't mean to be speaking, I'm not speaking out of bloodlust, don't misunderstand me, but nobody can say that a system that from the time a jury convicts and is sentenced, that the defendant is sentenced, 18 years later the sentence hasn't been imposed, is a just system. You know, we've had one execution under the new law, and that was the volunteer who... That's right. That was an exception. That was not the process. In Ohio, the reality is we have no death penalty. So what's your expectation about the Byrd case? Because that's sort of the leading case now. Do you expect all the court reviews, whatever, to go sort of, as Deb was saying, that it's just about over? And that when do you think this sentence might be carried out? Well, I gave up a long time predicting on death penalty cases, because what's happened is in our circuit there really is such an antipathy toward death penalty that you have not seen it happen in over 30 years. So what's happened is the system is allowed to have been gamed for years. Is it important then that the Sixth Circuit not only has refused twice now? It's very important. This is, and again, you have seen, since I've been Attorney General, you've seen a dramatic, and they will acknowledge, a dramatic change, and we have moved our cases through the state system. And they have more cases sitting in the federal system than they've ever had. And they are now being confronted with having to do some timely review. This case appears to be the one that might happen next year. I will say to you that the defense bar has, and the courts have gone along with many unusual motions and delays, which obviously have allowed a case to be delayed for 18 years. So it's hard to predict that this is going to be the next case or that it will happen next year. But by all rational review, you would say that he's probably due for death penalty next year. Whether it's the Byrd case or another case that has worked its way through the courts, once that happens does that mean then sort of the floodgates are open? There's a lot of people sitting on death row. Are we then facing a situation where we're going to have regular execution, sort of in the way Texas and Florida do? I don't think so. I think we have over 200 on death row now, I believe, and they said that with Wilford Berry several years ago, and that the floodgates would open. I can assure you that this court system is not one to let go of any case routinely or just for expeditious sakes. They're going to review it carefully, and we want them to review it carefully. You've seen a number of judges that review these cases, and that's good. So I don't believe it's going to open the floodgates. I think each case will be taken on its merits, and it will, Ohio is, we don't want to be a death mill. None of us want to do that. We have an awful lot of people sitting on death row. That's right, but we want, the sad fact in Ohio has been that you're more likely to die of old age on death row than to ever be given the death penalty. I'm running out of time, but one quick question here. We've had a recent controversy with a local court throwing out the concealed carry law, then reintroducing it. We did a Newsmakers on this with Mike Allen and Bill Gustafson a few weeks ago. Where does your office stand on this particular position? We are by law and by sworn duty required to defend a statute that's challenged constitutionally. And in this instance, we will defend its constitutionality. We will because, quite frankly, I share the concern that the concealed carry law, while I certainly am understanding of those who want to see it thrown out, is a protection for particularly our law enforcement agencies. And we've seen too many officers, frankly, in Cincinnati area who've suffered from those who carry a concealed
So your position
weapon.
would be the same. You would line up with the leaders
With
of the
Mike Allen.
police departments
Yes.
that say they're opposed to this.
Yes.
But even Mike Allen said rank and file police don't care about this and they'd change
Well, it's
it.
very interesting because you have, if you were to look at the concealed carry debate at the state level, you have your law enforcement divided. The Sheriff's Association has said we'll support it with certain training and whatever. And you have the chiefs of police who are opposed to it. So you've got leadership all over the place on this. It's really a very personal debate.
Just to be clear, though, you're saying not only by law will you defend this, but that's
Yes.
where you are
That's where I
personally.
would be anyway.
Thank you very much.
bet.
And when you're in Cincinnati in the future,
Love to stop by.
yeah, stop
Thank
by.
you.
This is
Thank
good. After the years of talking and pouring concrete, Paul Brown Stadium is about to open. Stay tuned for a peek and information about how you can see it for yourself. The seats are being cleaned. The scoreboard is working. The field of dreams is green, well, mostly. The beer and pop taps are ready, and the beer kegs are already cold. Just as importantly, so are the bathrooms. You paid for it, and you want to see the behind-the-scenes part that will be closed to the public after the opening. This Wednesday is your opportunity. Welcome back. This Wednesday, August the 16th, is an open house for anyone who would like to see what they bought with that extra half-cent sales tax. Brooke Hill is with us this morning. She's the Public Information Officer for the supervising construction firm. And Jeff Berding, who is with the Cincinnati Bengals, is also here. Welcome to Newsmakers. And I think, in Jeff's case anyway, I think welcome back. But I don't know. Brooke, I don't think you've ever actually been on. But anyway, this is it. Finally running up. And there's a number of open houses for different groups of people, right?
There are. We've planned a number of activities. The first being the kickoff with the dedication ceremony, which is Wednesday at 3 o'clock. And that's open to the public, and we hope everybody comes down and joins in the fun.
Okay. And then the doors will be swung open, and everybody gets to go in.
Right.
If you're a luxury box owner, you get to go through later, right? There'll be one that's more focused.
We actually have a sneak preview for all the first fans, all of our season ticket holders. The following night on Thursday, August 17th, the doors open at 7 o'clock, and then we actually have an alumni flag football game, first ever, sort of an old-timers game, although they wouldn't like to be called that, beginning at 8 o'clock. And that's where all of our season ticket holders, including our club seat holders and private suite holders, will actually have the opportunity to see their seats.
Do we need to have a couple of coaches out there just checking out those flankers and see if we can draft a few and bring them back?
We have trainers on hand for those pulled hamstrings.
Okay, I want to take a look at some of the things because as a TV station, we've gotten to take a look and take cameras in. And I got to tell you, the video for this is a little bit old, and I know things look a lot better. But right now, here we are looking at, we're looking at the locker room for the Bengals. And one of the things is the facilities for the team. It's the locker rooms, it's the whirlpool facilities, the workout facilities. You're also going to see meeting rooms here. There's the meeting room for the team. All of that's going to be there. This is really going to be the one chance to sort of see how the team, where the team really operates. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is the one time that people can really get behind the scenes and take a look at the locker room and all those places that you just mentioned.
Yeah, locker room, a lot of wood there.
A lot of wood, and it's shaped like a football.
And it's shaped like a football. Jeff, have the players actually gotten in there yet? Have they seen it?
Some of our players have. We ended our last mini camp just before the team made the move into Paul Brown Stadium, but a number of our players had been here in town working out prior to Georgetown training camp. And so I've taken Achilles Smith and Takeo Spikes, Willie Anderson, a number of the team leaders through, and from their standpoint, it's like going from Siberia to Hawaii overnight.
What is it? What are the facilities that really they care about? I mean, what is it that makes this? I mean, lockers is one thing, and they happen to be wood and it's shaped like a football. But I got a feeling it's the workout materials, it's the health areas. What is it that they really care about?
Well, a couple things. One is the convenience. It's all in one place. Literally from the time they park their cars and walk a short distance into the team area, you have the weight room, the aerobic room, the locker room, the training rooms, showers, meeting rooms, as well as the cafeteria. So it's all very convenient and in one place. Secondly, the weight room is larger, so in terms of our guys getting stronger, that helps from a competitive standpoint. That's important to them. The training facilities are nicer, so our guys in football, they get injured. That helps them get healed and get back on the field, which will be important to the club. And then really from the last point, this is their home throughout the year. We've built this so that this will be their home throughout the year, and we want them to take pride in it. They feel pride in it, and when they take the field on Sundays, they know that this opposing team is coming into their home. And they have a little bit more pride about it.
I've heard, but I have never seen any images of it. Is there a basketball court in here as well?
Well, it's actually a cafeteria that seconds as a basketball court, but there is one.
It's a cafeteria for the players?
The players.
Yes.
And then if you clear the tables out?
Then it's a basketball court.
Full size?
Yes.
Whew. All right.
What we have is we have to feed our players, so we have a cafeteria. We have a rubberized floor so that you don't have damage and whatnot with the tables and chairs, and then you can pull it out, and our guys have some exercise capabilities, not only for basketball, but really from an indoor practice facility standpoint in inclement weather.
Okay. You know, that's sort of focusing on the players and the team. I want to also focus on some other facilities that are there. We've got some tape of some of the meeting facilities, some of the banquet facilities. Here you can see there's carpet being laid. Is this in what's going to become the banquet facility? Plus, a few weeks ago, we heard the announcement that there could be an MRI facility. It'll be open to the public as well. Tell us about some of those sorts of facilities, other than sports-related, football-related, that the public's going to be able to use on an ongoing basis.
Well, the club lounge is going to be terrific. People can rent that for events, parties, corporate events, private parties, and that will be available on off game days.
And how many people does that seat?
It could seat as many as 500 people at a sit-down dinner, or open it up to a reception for as many as 1,000. It can also accommodate, we have smaller areas that can accommodate about 100 people sit down and a couple hundred people in a reception standpoint. And it's these areas where really the stadium will get used 300 days a year. People focus on, well, there's 10 football games, maybe a few concerts, high school games, youth football, college. But literally throughout the year, 300 days a year, you will have groups in here. And we've already had several dozen groups book holiday parties, sales presentations, wedding receptions, etc.
The MRI facility, is that deal done? Is that going to be there?
It will be in the stadium. It will likely not be fully completed as we get underway. But
and that will be open to the public.
But it will be open to the public. Yes, it will.
Is this, Jeff, very honestly, the reason the Bengals fought so hard to get that management contract? I mean, when we heard management contract, it sounded like, oh, gee, sweeping up after a game and cutting the grass. But in fact, this stadium is a much larger service facility, and there's money to be made off of these sorts of services as well.
Well, that was really less the issue because that was already had been a part of our lease agreement. The issue in terms of managing, frankly, was we had seen Riverfront Stadium, Synergy Field not being well kept up, and the team felt we had the best incentive and the most to gain by keeping it well kept up because it's our fans. And in terms of having the stadium kept clean and up to speed for our fans, we had the most to lose if it was not.
Okay, but there are also this possibility of using this as a business as well.
No question.
Yeah. If you ride past there right now, Brooke, there's still a lot of construction. Heading towards Wednesday, is it going to be possible to really get there? Is it going to be cleaned up? Is it going to be able to take this tour? Is it going to be ready?
I think people are going to be amazed and really excited when they get in there. I think even the folks that have been a little cynical and critical of the project are going to really be impressed.
Are there those?
Just a couple.
Okay. I want to reinforce the times and the dates here about this. This is this Wednesday, August the 16th, from 4 in the afternoon till 10 at night. Also making the point that at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the hour before, there's sort of an opening ceremony up on that plaza level.
Correct.
Is the best way to come is down Elm Street?
Down the new Elm Street extension if you're coming from downtown, or there's a ramp off of Mering Way. We call it the Z ramp. Go up there and right onto the plaza. It's on the East Plaza.
Well, have fun and win some games this year, and we'll stay in touch with you.
Thank you.
Thank you for making Newsmakers a part of your Sunday morning. Join us again next week when we will talk about the new economy in Cincinnati and what you can do to help a child learn this coming school year. Have a good week.